Raisin Mead.
Finishing and bottling.
Now, if you remember, this is the one that I'm hoping tastes like our black sack mead, although without having to fortify it and all the craziness that we went through, because a lot of that flavor actually came from the raisins. So, what we're going to do today, we're going to take a reading. This started at 1.130 initial gravity, which is on the higher side, but I think we're going to be okay. So I'm taking a reading today to see how it did. Now, if you're curious, this is about the 8-week mark for this, almost to the day. It's within a couple of days of 8 weeks. And if you notice, it's relatively clear already too. Those raisins puffed up. They look like allspice berries is what they look like. The intent is we'll be racking this off of them today. Yay, it's floating. If it doesn't float, that means it probably went super dry, which means a whole lot more effort to try to get it to where we like it. But this one, it's a little on the high side still. I'm seeing some bubbles in there. Yeah, 1.044. That's a little high. Now, I know the raisins would have released some sugars, but let me do a quick calculation here. Yeah, this is only at about 11.6%. I am still going to rack it today, though. We might end up doing something with it down the line, but we're going to take a taste of it, and we're going to rack it. Because at 8 weeks, this is not going to ferment any further in the state it's in. Now, that doesn't mean that we might not do something with it to help, but right now, it's not going to go any further. So let me just pour off a little bit of a sample here. By the way, if you're curious why we do things differently every time, it's because there's a lot of different ways to handle stuck or stalled or whatever fermentations, and I don't just want to automatically use one technique all the time because there's different reasons for different things. Sometimes the same technique or sometimes different techniques will solve the same problem. So, it's good to have a nice bag of tools, so to speak. So, first we want to taste this. I can tell you right now, that is beautiful. It's a really nice color. Everything about that appearance is wonderful. And the smell, wow, it's not footy, it's not young. It smells really nice. You get the raisin smell,
I get an ever so slight touch of foot, but...
Oh, really? I just took a quick sniff. I will take another sniff to further investigate. Very slight. Oh, that is nice.
It has that hot, spicy note that could
it's
be
not overly sweet
because of its age, or could be.
This doesn't taste as sweet as it should be. Like not remotely as sweet as it should be. It's a nice sweetness. It's not overly. Let me write down my level here. That's really interesting to me. I would have expected it to taste super sweet at 1044.
It almost tastes spiced, and the only thing I can attribute that is the combination of the raisin with the lemon zest gives it a more brighter, spicier...
I will say this, though. It doesn't taste anything like the black sack.
No.
Not at all. It doesn't have... There's a certain flavor in there that this just doesn't have. This is more like the date wine.
Yeah.
But it's nice. I like this. I actually really like this a lot. So here's what I'm thinking. We're just going to rack this and see if it drops a little bit more. Now, I know, I always say, once you rack it, you got rid of the colony, things like that. And that's absolutely true. But I think it might drop a little bit more. There might be a little bit. But I'm not sure.
It's a wait and see kind of thing.
And if it doesn't, I'm actually pretty okay with it the way it is.
Yeah. I
think the bit of astringency from those raisins has taken the sweetness level down. Yeah. It doesn't taste it. Like, we had a capsaicin, my first capsaicin I ever made was 1.060 when it finished. And it was amazingly good. Not overly sweet. Now, I like things sweet, okay? But past 1030, it's a little bit sweet for me. So, anyway, we're going to rack to a pitcher first. Because this is a 3-liter bottle. There's a lot of raisins in the bottom there, and I don't know if this is going to be closer to 3 liter or closer to a gallon. I don't think it's going to be a gallon, so we're just going to rack it to a pitcher first. measure it, and then we'll put it into the next vessel.
Because this is our first rack, we're going to leave our cap on our auto siphon. It's the removable bit here that aids in limiting the amount of lees or lees that gets sucked up into there, because it gives a gap between the bottom of it.
Now, also because this is our first rack on this, we want to preserve as much product as possible. We know some more can fall out of suspension. Also, because there's so many raisins and everything in this, and this is our first rack, I want to preserve as much product as possible. So once we get it started, we're probably just going to drop it right to the bottom and not really worry about it much. Go ahead and get in there and get that started for me. I'm holding the other end in the pitcher. You need elevation difference to make a siphon work. And yeah, just drop it down. Let it go.
Well, let's get some of it out first.
Being that this probably isn't the most exciting television, we're just going to fast forward to finished. All right, so we went into the raisins a little bit at the bottom. It was coming cloudy at the end. I'm okay with that. And I know I say I'm okay with that a lot. But in this case, I really am. Because we want to get as much product as possible. See how it's no longer clear. It turned a little bit cloudy. But this is going to sit for a couple weeks. This is the first rack. Don't worry. Okay, so my prediction was pretty much right. When I look at our measurements on the pitcher, by the way, this new pitcher is awesome. It actually has measurements on it. And like it's in Braille method even. You can go like this and feel it. Hear that? But when I look at this, it's showing me 3,000 milliliters, almost like exactly. So I know this being a 3-liter bottle, that's perfect. And that's why we do it to a pitcher first, so that we can kind of measure it. We used to have to eyeball it, but now we can actually measure. So we're just going to rack it right into that bottle. And for this, we can take the cap off because we know there's no lees in here, or, well, none that's settled anyway. And it's just going to all get in that bottle. Okay, another reason why I really like this pitcher. See, there's just this tiny bit at the end. Look at this spout, okay? It's very wide and very pointed. So I can just put that right in the end of the bottle, and that last little bit, I know somebody's going to freak out at me because I'm adding oxygen. Okay, I'm not really adding any oxygen with a half a teaspoon, but I don't want to waste it either. But if you look at this, that's like almost no headroom in there. That's like ideal. And we have our number 6 bung that we put in there. We got number 6s for these Carlo Rossi bottles. They seem to fit a little bit better. And now we affix the airlock. And even in conditioning phase, secondary, whatever you want to call it, you still want to use an airlock. I've had a lot of people recently saying that they capped it off. They like put a top on it. And I'm like, please don't do that. If there's any fermentation or degassing happening, it could explode. And that's kind of a scary thing. We've never actually had it happen. But I've seen people who cold crashed and they blew up in the fridge because they were still going. I've seen people that they blew up in a cooler chest. We've seen people that it was just sitting on their kitchen table and exploded. It's all nasty and it can be dangerous. Flying glass is no joke. So please just be careful when you do these kind of things, okay? Use an airlock. That's what it does. It releases that pressure. It'll never explode. Anyway, what are we going to do with this now?
No, that's it.
Probably a couple weeks. I want that to clear out fully, see if maybe there's going to be any more fermentation happening, and then determine, are we going to ferment this further or are we going to leave it as is? I'm not sure yet. Okay, so it's been about 5 more weeks, and well, this is cleared out quite nicely. It's looking really good. I haven't seen any evidence of further fermentation, so that 1044 gravity is probably going to be our final gravity. And I'm okay with that. I know I say that a lot, but I am actually okay with that. So what we're going to do is take a reading, and this will just be the final reading to figure out where it really ended up and calculate our alcohol content from. It's floating! Well, the good news is it's stable. The bad news is it didn't actually change. It's still 1.044 gravity. So it does have a little bit of extra residual sweetness, which is mildly troubling, but not that big of a deal, really. Every brew is a little bit different. So let me calculate that alcohol content. Our actual OG was 1.130. It was a little high. And I'm going to say that those raisins added 17 points. So let's go with 15 points. So again, we have 1.130 plus 0.015. So that gives us a starting gravity of about 1.145. A little on the high side for my taste, and I'm sure that's why it's at 1.044, as we'll see in just a second. Minus 1.044 for our final gravity means we actually burned up 0.101 gravity, or 101 points. We did use Lalvin 71B, which is a 14% alcohol. Keep that in mind, alcohol tolerance. That means that the yeast should stop somewhere around 1 to 2 points within that 14% range. But if I take that 101 points and multiply it by the 135 coefficient that I like to use, I get 13.64% alcohol. For my bet, I'm saying 13.5. And you know what? That's well within the tolerance of that yeast. Therefore, they did their job. They did it right.
So we have our favorite pitcher, which Brian is going to pour that sample into, because everything's been sanitized, so we don't have to worry about cross-contamination. Also, we are now going to use said pitcher to do our first rack from the fermenter into the pitcher.
And some people ask why we do that. Now, this is so clear, okay, and there's so little, such fine sediment on the bottom, I probably don't need to, okay, and I normally wouldn't, except that these 3-liter Carlo Rossi bottles, the auto siphon doesn't fit in them right, and you can't get everything in the bottom. So I'm going to end up having to pour that last little bit and hope I don't get too much sediment, okay? I'm sorry, but it's what you got to do.
So we're moving our pitcher down here to the bench that we're sitting on, so that it'll be lower than our fermentation bottle, because that's how auto siphons work.
I'm going to put this a little closer to the edge of the table. And I'm just going to stick the auto siphon in about halfway down. She is holding that tube in there. If you don't, it can spray everywhere. Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
It's also a good idea while holding it to make sure that it is all the way to the bottom, because that will limit the oxidation of the brew.
Less splashing. Speaking of oxidization or oxygenation, however you want to say it, they're both actually correct. It's a concern, but it's not as big a concern as many people may have been led to believe, even for headspace and secondary and things like that. It's important to keep an eye on it, but many people have told me that they fill their bottles halfway and they've never had it oxidized, never had a problem. I don't know that I'd go that far, but you don't have to. But you don't have to go crazy worrying about it, is my point.
There are two reasons why homebrewers are concerned about the oxygen contact with their brew. The first one is turning it to vinegar. And this is going to occur at a 10% and lower ABV. Once it hits 15, it's pretty much not going to happen. In that in-between range of 10 and 15, you're going to have to work pretty hard or have a wide...
You have to almost do it on purpose.
Access to the vinegar creating substances. Oxygen's probably not going to do it on its own. The second reason is off flavors. And sure, this can happen with the introduction of oxygen. But more often than not, it takes an extended period of time for it to be exposed to oxygen before those off flavors really develop.
By extended period of time, she means months to years. Yeah. It's not going to happen in a week or two. And a lot of people, we get the questions all the time. We get the questions all the time from people about, oh, is this half-inch of air going to ruin my brew? No. We actually had somebody that threw one out recently because the airlock got knocked off while it was in his garage, and he wasn't sure how long it had been sitting that way. Well, here's the truth. If it doesn't look funny inside, put the airlock back on. What's the worst that can happen? You have to throw it away in a couple months when you test it? Up until then, it's not bad. And I felt bad because I didn't see the comment right away. It was over the Christmas holiday, so I didn't get a chance to see it right away. But he's a regular commenter. There was no reason to throw that away. Just none. Okay, what I meant by having to pour some. See how much is left on the bottom there? Well, I'm not wasting that, right? So what I'm going to do is tip it sideways just a little bit. I'm going to have Derica hold the pitcher just so, like tip it towards me a little bit, not to spill, but this way I don't oxygenate as I pour it in. And I'm going to use the neck and shoulders of that bottle to prevent too much of that sediment coming in, but it's going to come in anyway. Just want the clear liquid. Now, I know this will actually settle out anyway, even if it made it into a bottle, but I like to have my bottles clean as much as possible. All right. We didn't get a lot more, but you know what? We can take this little bit, put it in the glass or something, let that settle out, and drink it later. So we'll just set that to the side.
If you're not as frugal as we are, then you could simply throw this away if that's what you wish.
That's alcohol abuse.
So that way you have crystal clear bottles for gifting.
Okay, first thing I want to do when we're getting ready to siphon for bottling is I want to take this cap off the end of the auto siphon. That way you can get all the way to the bottom, because we know there's minimal sediment in this, if anything at all, and I don't need to waste any at the bottom. Then I'm going to add a bottling wand, which is just, it has a spring-loaded tip with a little trigger on it. It's actually a stem valve, as someone told me. And what it does is it allows the liquid to flow when it's pushed down and stop it when it's not pushed down. That way you have a little bit of control as you're bottling.
Again, we're moving our bottles to the bench that we're sitting on, so that way they're lower than our starting vessel.
She's going to hold the bottle and hold that down while I get the auto siphon started. Now, I usually take over once we do that. That way she doesn't have to worry about it. If you're a one-man operation or a one-woman operation, there's ways to do it. I've done it. You can start the siphon with one hand, kind of, and all that. It's just one of those, it's a little bit more difficult to do one-handed with one person, but it can be done.
If you are working with a partner, communication is key.
Know what everyone is doing.
Yes, because if there is a communication mishap, which surprisingly enough
from experience,
we've had on our own, then you may end up with some of your brew on the floor, or your partner's lap, or
make sure that
at
least one of you is watching the bottle as you're filling it. That was what we messed up. And because I'm using a wand, and I know the wand takes up a little space, I usually go till the liquid's about up in here in the bottle before I pull it out. I mean, way up there. So that way I have a full bottle, as you can see right there.
Yeah, this one, he got it all the way to the top, and then removing the wand, it lowered down to there.
Another thing, people ask about bottles all the time. Screw caps, swing tops, corks, all relatively the same as far as I know.
These particular bottles we've gotten off of Amazon, and since then they have become our favorite bottles.
I love them. I think
because they're so convenient and they're attractive enough, and I don't have to scrape labels off of a reused bottle. But since then, Amazon has replaced them with a metal cap rather than a plastic cap. And
that makes me less pleased.
Even though these are metal caps from our reused bottles,
I don't think they're reactive metal.
We prefer the plastic caps. So if you're looking in the links in the description below for this particular bottle and it's not there, it's not because I forgot, it's because it's not available right now. But as soon as I find it again, I'll make sure to include it.
Here we are in the last bottle. So we got 3, and then we have a little over half on this one. There's still a tiny little bit left in this pitcher, and this is what we like about this pitcher. That spout works like a funnel. You just stick it right in there, and I can pour that relatively easily without spilling it all over the place. And there we go.
Again, we're frugal, and that's why we did that. It's not necessary, but if you are the every last drop is sacred type of people like we are, then that's the method to do.
A word on being frugal. Frugal is probably a strong word, but it's the truth. You made this. Why waste it? Okay, I know people that don't waste even a couple of drops, so we're pretty good about it. I mean, I'm not worried if I lose a little bit to waste. It's not that big of a deal to me. But, more than like a cup or so, yeah, that starts to bother me a little bit because honey's not cheap.
So this bottle is going to be our taster bottle because we want to drink this one first because of all that headspace. We want to make sure that's gone before something gets to it other than us. These bottles can go into long-term storage, and one of them, probably this one, is going to be saved for a year, and we'll do another tasting and share that with you when that time comes.
If you like this video, look up. There's probably another one you like too.